Hi everyone, welcome to Should I Stay or Should I Go? Deciding if Salesforce is the right solution for your mission management needs. My name is Alicia Schmidt and I'm the Customer Success Evangelist with the Salesforce Foundation. Our webinar today is part of a special series of webinars offered by the Foundation to showcase solutions that might be useful to nonprofit organizations or higher ed institutions who are using Salesforce. I encourage you to check back on the Foundation website to view our complete webinars listing, or you can keep up with our events on the Foundation Facebook and or Twitter channels. So I'm pleased to be joined by Keith Heller and the team from Heller Consulting, who are going to be leading today's webinar. Keith, would you like to take it away and introduce the rest of your team?
Yeah, thanks so much, Alicia, and thanks to the Salesforce Foundation for hosting this webinar today. So I'm Keith Heller, Principal of Heller Consulting, and I'm joined today by Tricia Fitzgerald and Mary Postiowski. They're going to be helping me with the demo, and so I'm going to give an overview for the next 10 or 12 minutes and then turn it over to them. So Mary, if you'd advance the slides, I'll start to talk a little bit about Heller Consulting. We have been focused solely on supporting nonprofits with their technology needs for the last 15 years, over 800 clients, more than 1,700 projects, and offices in San Francisco, Chicago, and New York. We have about 30 people on our team, and one of the important aspects of our firm is that everyone in a consulting role has worked at 2 or 3 nonprofits before they join our firm. So if you're someone who's responsible for a software system, we've been in your shoes before. The services that we provide include software selection. You can advance there, Mary. Selection. If you're trying to figure out what software to buy or acquire, we help with that process. This webinar today is along those themes. If you need help implementing software, we do that. If you have software that you want to streamline, optimize, get more out of, it's another level of service. And then if your software is in good shape but you just want to do more with it and expand, we can help you grow that. And that's one of the things we're particularly excited about in our work on the with the Salesforce product, because that grow capacity just doesn't end. There's always something more you can be doing with the software. So finally, last slide here about us. We work on a variety of products. If you've been in the nonprofit sector a while, you'll recognize the names. Please advance. And those include from Blackwall to Razor's Edge, Convio's products, and Salesforce. And Mary, if you could advance the slide, please.
I did. Maybe there's a delay.
There is a delay. So we'll skip that slide, and there we go. Okay, so you see these are some of our clients, and all of these clients, as you look through the names, are actually clients that we've helped transition onto the Salesforce platform in one capacity or another. So what I hope is you'll see some organizations there that when you look at it, you go, oh, they're like us. And everybody, regardless of the type of organization that you work for, you'll find like-minded, like-missioned organizations on the Salesforce platform. That's part of the beauty of it. So let's start to talk about, jumping to the content here. Salesforce itself, I just want to do a brief overview of some of the benefits of Salesforce. You're actually going to see Salesforce itself in action in the demo, and quite likely you've seen some of it before. So we're going to go right to talking about some of the benefits that are specifically applicable to managing your mission. So because Salesforce is a SaaS-based product, software as a service, it lives in the cloud, it's accessed via the browser. What does that mean, particularly for a program management department or mission management? The first is that it's very low cost to implement. There's not a terrible amount of investment in order to get started. That's important, of course, all the time, but particularly in these economic times. It's low risk. So getting something off the ground, you can start to experiment. Of course, you have the ability to do a trial and start to test the product and see if it's going to work for you. It's scalable. You can start small and you can grow. That's a bit of what you're going to see today. Scalable has a number of different meanings with regard to the amount of data you have, the amount of users. Those things you can grow at the pace that you want to grow. What we're going to be focusing on today is the fact that you can grow the software and your use of it through custom configuration. So the way the software looks when you open it, I shouldn't say software, the way the product looks when you open it is not the way it has to stay. And yet expanding what it does for you doesn't require a tremendous amount of financial or staff investment. But how far you can take it is quite far without ever writing code. And finally, it's fast to get results. So the next concept I want to cover is CRM. So CRM, we're looking at the slide of silos. This is your, quite likely, and it's true for most organizations, this is the state of your current databases. On the left, we have Excel. In the middle, we have FileMaker. On the right, we have Access. Maybe we have some point solutions, some specific pieces of software that serve specific purposes. But the fact is that our data is spread out all over the place. We, as staff, have to use a bunch of different systems, and all of that is quite time-consuming and quite inefficient, counterproductive. So let's take a look at a CRM slide. On this next slide, you're going to see it's like a pie chart. And this is our working definition of CRM and the elusive 360-degree view that people are looking for the constituents who engage with their organization. So you might have a system that helps you with direct mail and major gifts. That's a typical donor database. Online giving and team raise or advocacy. That can be an online communications tool. But then that still leaves out a big slice of the people that you engage with. And in fact, maybe the most important slice or slices, which is your own team, the people who participate in your program and make that program happen. And then the people who benefit from your programs, the mission beneficiaries. What's wonderful about the Salesforce product is you can get all of those different slices into the product. Now, you don't need to get all of them in there at once, but it gives you different entry points into full CRM and having everyone, all of your users, all of your constituents, all in the same system. It gives you that 360-degree view of each person. So today we're going to focus on the top two left slices with program participants and mission beneficiaries. Mary, if you'd advance. So here's a simple slide that shows a lot about mission management and some of the ways, some of the features that people enjoy about Salesforce for mission management. This is a digestible slide, and you'll see us using some of these pieces when we go through the demo. The next slide is the shock and awe slide. This shows you a much broader view of all the different things, not even all, but many of the different things that one could do with Salesforce for nonprofits. And I just wanted you to have a sense of how much there is there, and that, as you'll see, we're only looking at part of this, but we are looking in that big middle band, the organization whose work we're going to be showing you a bit today. They did take all the different pieces of that middle band. Now, we're not going to show all that to you today. We're going to focus on the constituent engagement, the case management, the grants management, but I wanted to provide some context for you about those. And if you're curious about some of these other aspects of using Salesforce, of course, I encourage you to contact the foundation and see what types of webinars and things they have coming up that can tell you about that, or to contact us. So let's take a step back and talk about, from a big picture perspective, what should a mission management product do for you? This is where we start to talk about how do I decide what I need and if I should adopt something. You want to take a step back and see, all right, what do I need it to do for me? You'll see this these 7 boxes in a cycle. The orange ones are more strategic, and the green ones are more operational. So we start at the top at 12 o'clock there. Big picture, what is your mission? Who do you serve? So who you serve are the people who will end up in the system. What your mission is the vision that you need to support in a very practical manner. And that brings us to tactics. For each program that is part of your mission, how do you carry it out? What are the steps? What are the tasks? And that starts to define the business processes that you'll have and that you'll ask of your solution. So then, the first green box, you get down to brass tacks. All right, we've laid out what we need. Do we have it? Will our technology support it? Will the product we have now allow us to store the information that we want, carry out the business practices in the way that we need them to be carried out? Do our own internal processes meet our needs? Does our staff that we have available to us, do they have the skills that we need them to have? Where do we need to improve? And quite likely, if you're on this call, you're thinking, well, current software is not doing it for me, and that's why I'm here. So that makes a lot of sense. What should your systems do? Your system should allow you to store data and then retrieve information. Now, I'm making a distinction here because storing data is just a bunch of letters or numbers in a particular field. It doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't help you take action. It doesn't, move you forward. Retrieving information means that you have tools that take that data and make it useful to you. You can query out or build lists of the right people for you to be contacting. You can run reports that give you information that's valuable. And that this should be automated to a good degree, that you're not running a report and then because you can't get what you need from your system, you're using everybody's favorite default reporting tool, Excel. You should be able to get what you need out of the system directly. And then on the business process side, not only should your software serve you, but it should serve you in a way that you don't have to bend over backwards and tie yourself in knots in order to use it. It should allow and support and even encourage efficient business practices, logical business practices that move everything forward. Finally, maybe the most important piece is when all those things line up, you're getting good reporting. You can see what's working and what's not when you're carrying out your mission. And that allows you to go to the next and last orange box, which is analyzing those reports and saying, well, this over here works, let's do more of that. This over here doesn't work as well, let's stop doing that. And then you move back through the cycle again. So Mary, you could advance. So when you start to think, do I need a new system? The number one reason that people come to us is they say, my current software is broken. Well, we always turn around and ask in a variety of ways, is it really broken? Was it poorly set up originally, which usually has to do with the coding, which makes it then hard to pull lists or reports? Was it poorly used over time? Business practices that were varied from staff member to staff member over the years or even over the days and weeks and months, or business practices that weren't written down. Any or all of these contribute to a system that starts to get out of whack. Was it neglected? Maybe there wasn't enough attention paid to the system. No one was designated the quote-unquote guru of the system. Or maybe you had too many people having too much access. Another piece that can happen is that needs change over time. Well, when we got the system 5 or 6 years ago, we needed to do X, Y, and Z, and now we need X, Y, and Z and A, B, and C. And we don't think our current system could do it. Well, that's a question worth investigating before you make a change. And then finally, training. We believe there's never such a thing as too much training. And that's training that has to happen not just when someone new comes on board, but there's training and retraining of current staff and an increase in skills when you ask people to do something more with the systems. So I bring up these points not to dissuade you from getting new software, but to think critically about why it is that you believe you need new software. And if you can look at these different points and say, well, for the most part, we did it well originally, and we've been using it well, and yeah, maybe we neglected it a little bit, but we think we're on track, etc. When you score yourself in those areas, if you're scoring well enough and the system's still not doing it for you, then it's time to go and get new software. If you're scoring poorly in many of these areas, it's important to make the commitment to to do better in those areas, because new software won't change your culture around the database. And if you don't change the culture around the system, you'll end up in the same spot later on. So Mary, if you'll advance. So what you're going to be seeing here today are three solutions that we developed originally for a single organization. And this organization was actually the result of a merger. There were two nonprofits, one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast, that had very, very similar missions. And they realized that, that they should combine and be that much more effective. There were three departments that actually each of them had. And they wanted to get on a single system. Of course, they wanted each, the West Coast and East Coast, to be on single systems, and they wanted those departments all share a single system because there was overlap between them. So in the end, their needs were fourfold across those three departments. Fundraising, which we won't be talking about today because there are many opportunities to learn about fundraising on Salesforce, and I encourage you to go and learn about them. Call center, client services, and research. And for this organization, the folks who called in, they need to manage that queue, manage what was discussed with the caller and what was provided back to them in terms of resources, and their client services to carry that relationship forward, and then the research funding that this organization did. This happened to be a disease and disorder organization. Now, the solutions we're going to show you can be adopted on their own by any organization that looks at what we're about to show you and says, I could use that. You could adopt one, you could adopt two, you could adopt all three. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mary and Tricia.
Okay, great. So again, my name is Mary Pisciossi, and I'm going to be showing you today these various solutions. So I'm going to go right into the demo. And basically, the first thing I want to quickly tell you is, how do we, when we talk about helpline and client services, what are we really talking about here? And what we mean is basically that in this case, clients or people would call in and say, I have just been diagnosed with this particular disease, and I have questions, I need support, I need a referral, whatever it is that they might need. We wanted to keep track of the types of calls that came in, as well as what responses we gave them and any follow-up that took place, so that we can measure how we're doing in providing these services to our clients.
And also, one thing to mention, sorry, this is Tricia, is that for this particular client, they were also moving to putting all of their fundraising on the Salesforce platform. And so to have the calls and the responses to the calls and the fundraising and all those different types of involvement in one place was really valuable and important to them.
Because there are people who may be a donor, but also people who call in with questions because maybe they're a family member or a friend of someone affected by this disease. And when I say call center, I do want to clarify that we're talking about people coming in through a multiple channels, that somebody could be sending an email to support@yourorganization.org, or they could be entering information in a web form that then goes directly into the case management queue, so that a support specialist, somebody logging in for the day, could easily see these are the emails that have come through, these are the phone calls that maybe happened while I was gone, or here are the various things that people have submitted via web form. So if you're not familiar with Salesforce, I'm logged into Salesforce, and over here there's an app called Call Center. That's the particular application that I'm using today. And there are various tabs over here. I'm going to go straight to the real heart of the call center, and that's something called the console. The idea with the console is that oftentimes a support agent, somebody who's working the phones, might not want to be clicking around and seeing things in all different places. So the console provides them with a single view of the case, any contact details about someone, their previous cases, and their various account details as well. So they don't have to have different pieces open all at the same time. Another piece I want to mention is that some clients will also use something called a soft phone layout, where they have soft phones, like a voice over IP phone that works with their computer, and a call center solution so that people calling in get, an automated message and say, press 1 for this and press 2 for that. That is another solution that's available that integrates directly with Salesforce, and there are many different call options there. So those are available in the App Exchange. But what I'm going to show you today is strictly the Salesforce piece, because there are too many call options to show you all in one webinar. So when someone calls in, a case is created, and I'll show you that in a second, but basically you can see there's all sort of case information here. The owner of the case, that would usually be the agent. There's the basic information about this person, about how the call came in or how the question came in, subject, description, and so forth. You can see all of these fields are customizable, and the values in the fields are customizable as well. So for example, under case reason, these are some examples, but your organization could have many other options based on the types of things that you need to report on. Going back to what Keith said, being able to see in a global way what are people calling about. You also have the ability to see the types of people calling, and that is also very helpful for reporting and analysis and strategy of, we're getting a lot of people with the condition, maybe we're getting professionals like physicians or specialists who need more information about the disease. And this certainly could be applied to many different areas, not just a disease organization. I should also mention this is all fake data, so anything you see here is not from my client. I certainly wouldn't be showing any of that. So I'm going to quickly show you, if I'm working in the console here and I have all these cases going on, I can easily click through and see my different cases that I need to work on. Maybe I need to make follow-up calls, maybe I need to send out emails or something like that. But I'm going to actually create a new case for this in the console here. So a new person calls in, they tell me their name, and in this case this person's called before, so I have their information in the system. But what I want to mention is sometimes people will have anonymous callers, or somebody doesn't want to give their name, and that's really no problem. You can create cases without having a contact name. But it does become useful if you'd like to see people who've called multiple times and see their progress over time. You can also have various things default, so this is a phone, these are medication questions and so forth. I can put in subject and description. And what I like is that you can also have internal comments, things that may not be going out to the user, to the client. So one of the great things about Salesforce is when I close the case, I can have an email go automatically to that person saying, thank you for your call, here's the information we talked about, and that way they can have a record of what happened. With internal comments, you can keep various things private that you may not want the client to see. So I'm going to just put in some basic data here. And what's nice is once this is completed, I can save my case. When I close the case, there are a lot of options here about creating internal comments. I can also say, I gave them a referral to someone. And what's really handy is the ability to use something called solutions. So if you have common questions that come up a lot, maybe it's something about somebody being a new diagnosis, you can submit it to public solutions, and those can be available either on your internal website to your other support agents who are also working on the phone, or you can have it available to people publicly. So if you have a website and you want people to search there first when they have frequently asked questions, you can make these publicly available. So when I close the case, I'm going to save this. I want to show you that when you close a case, you can also have various things happen automatically. So you can have a follow-up email go out. You can have a specific task or whatever it might be. You can have these things happen automatically. I can also submit that solution. You can also connect existing solutions. So in this case, I have the new patient solution already handled. And what that does is that attaches that solution to that case. And in my reporting later on, I can see what are my most commonly used solutions, what are the areas that we're using the most. And the idea with solutions is that you have something that is confirmed as consistent and accurate so that everyone who calls is getting the same information and not, 5 different answers to the same question. Also, another solution that that this client did was they had an email go out to people when the case was closed that provided them a link to a survey, and that survey was then used for the person to type in what they thought of their interaction on the phone, and then the manager was able to see how different people were doing and then look for ways to improve their services as well. So based on all of that, I want to quickly show you a report and dashboard that is set up so that the managers or even just the people in the department can see, who are the people who are calling. These are the different reasons that people are calling, and it's in a nice little graphical format, cases by type, so we can see most of the people calling are people with this particular condition. I can also see who has open cases and really see who's getting their work done and who's sort of stalling out, and look into the detail a little more. So I do want to mention that's the basic information about the helpline, but with this particular client, they also wanted some information about people calling to request resources. So if somebody calls and they say, I'm a support group leader and we're having a meeting next week and I need a packet of brochures for that meeting. And so we created a custom solution that includes resource orders, so someone can call and request various resources and request that information to be sent to them or possibly emailed, depending on what type of resource we're talking about. It was very easy to create a new resource order where someone says, I want the general information brochures. They say they want 10, and then they just click Save. And now in their resource order history, you can see I've added quite a few to this person, but that can then be run in a report, and the person doing the fulfillment can see here are all the names, here is how much they requested, and then as soon as those are done, they can go in and close the case, showing that they have completed all resource fulfillment activities. So the last solution I quickly want to show you is something that we also set up for them around grant application management, where because they're a disease organization, they have scientists who apply for research funding from them. So that we created as a custom application called Research Awards. And that is pulling up right now. And basically their problem was that they were tracking everything in spreadsheets and Outlook, and paper files. So someone would submit an application by mail. They would then, make notes on it, or they would put it into their spreadsheet. And so they didn't really have a good way to see the various awards that have gone out, as well as who's reviewing those particular applications. So I created an award here, and basically they can track whether it is currently accepting applications, it's open, it's been approved, or is it closed, is it being reviewed by the various scientific reviewers. They were able to track the decision date, how long it's been open, the award, how much they're expecting to give, and then along those lines, they can see all the applications that have come in. So I'm going to show you an application. And the application here, you can see they have what position or award they're applying for, who the applicant is. And what's nice about that is that they can then view that person and see all the times that person has applied, how many times they've been awarded in the past. And their big challenge previously to using Salesforce was that they couldn't even tell which scientists they'd funded before, other than looking at an annual report from 3 years ago. So that was really critical to them to be able to see that history on a person's record. They're also able to view what status a particular application was in and see, how this person has progressed along these different stages. In their case, they had something called an LOI, a letter of intent, where the scientist would say, I'm going to, they quickly present a sketch of what they're going to do, and then if that's approved, they're asked to submit a full application. So you can see there's basic information about their research title, the population they studied, specialty area, and so forth. Again, all of this was completely custom for this client and what they were doing. Your organization may have completely different needs. But along those lines, people wanted to say, okay, now that this has been sent in, we need to assign reviewers. And again, they were tracking that information in Excel of, we sent this out to these 5 people to review, and these are their scores. So we created an area for them to track reviews. So I can see all of the different reviews that have been made of this application. So I'm going to show you a review. On the review here, somebody could put in the assessment that they have. And what their score was, who the reviewer was, and then the type here. So again, they were using letter of intent and full application. Some of this they can import directly through, you can have it done through an online portal, or you can have it imported through some various import tools. So what you can see on the application, if I go back to application, the review data is summarized here, so I can see all of the different LOI reviews that have taken place, as well as the full application reviews. And so you can see a score separately for each. Over here, you'll see there's an error for the average application. That's because it's dividing by 0. But if somebody had more than one application review, then you would see that summary posted there.
Hey, Mary?
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify one thing. When you're talking about different ways to get data into the system, you're talking about the application data, right? So the application data, somebody could type it in, or you could, or it could come in through a website directly into Salesforce, or it could be imported into Salesforce from another file.
Exactly. So there's 3 ways that you could potentially enter this information into the system. And that's a very good point, that it doesn't have to be somebody sitting here typing all the information or copying and pasting from an email. They can have that all happen through either an import or building out a portal that the researcher themselves could then type in their information and apply online. And what's really great about Salesforce is you can also have various items happen automatically. So we have created some workflows that if you create this application and mark it as full application approved, as soon as I do that, these activities here are created automatically. That you have a task created for someone to make a phone call to that researcher and say, hey, congratulations, we're going to give you $100,000. We can also put in when their progress report is due. It's a year from the award date. And we can put in that maybe their final report is due 30 days after the grant end date. We also set it up so that if someone had a status of rejected, then an email could go to them automatically saying, thank you very much for your interest. We had so many great applicants this year, and unfortunately we're not able to fund you, so that they didn't have to sit there and send out an email individually to every single person that they rejected, which could get incredibly onerous. So this was a great solution for them to be able to handle those things automatically.
And Mary, when we started this project, they were using multiple systems to get to track all this, yeah?
Yep, they had a website as well as mostly spreadsheets and Outlook for a lot of these things.
Yep.
And like I said, it was really challenging for them to even look at a scientist and see if they funded them in the past. That wasn't even something that they could view.
And so what I'd like to, again, just note is that, each of these discrete solutions, call center, case or client management, grants management, can be adopted individually, and they can be adopted by any type of organization. So you don't have to be, we're drawing from the particular disease and disorder client, but anyone who is evaluating and making grants, anyone who is taking phone calls from their constituency and answering questions on their behalf. We're even seeing people adopt, let's say, the call center functionality for their internal IT help desk within their organization. Exactly. So there's a lot of different ways these solutions can be employed. And I think another important thing is that what you've seen here today is custom configuration of Salesforce, but it didn't require a lot of fancy technical programming. It takes a lot of forethought and some experience, but it's not writing a bunch of tricky code that you would then have to maintain. And it's all with using what's native to Salesforce itself. Salesforce also has, and you'll want to learn about, the App Exchange, where it's like an app store where you can go and grab things and plug them into and layer them on top of your Salesforce instance. In this case, everything you're seeing here is using Salesforce, well, I wanted to say right out of the box, but I'm not sure what you say these days, right out of the cloud.
Alrighty, well, thank you very much, Keith, Mary, and Tricia. I really appreciate you presenting today. And again, if anybody wants to learn more about Heller Consulting or how they might be able to help you customize Salesforce for your mission management needs, please do follow up with them. Thanks very much, you guys.
Thanks, Alicia.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.